we had. Oh my goodness! Now we're live. I love it when you don't tell me.
You always tell me not to tell you, so
No,
I'm
I
like,
do love
let's
that.
see
I
what
love that.
happens.
Yeah, it's like I'm here adjusting my collar while waiting for the cameras to oops go live.
Excellent. People get the raw, unedited us with this, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's as it should be. We're here. We're here as your friends. We're your buddies. We're your pals.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're just all hanging out on a Saturday night, as nerds do, talking about Star Trek.
It's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I weren't doing this show, this is what I'd be doing.
Yeah, sounds about right for me. So yeah, welcome everybody to the Unready Room. I'm Dan Gunther. This is Brandy Jackala. And we are talking about a new episode of Star Trek Discovery. So welcome everyone over in the chat. Thank you for joining us. And welcome to everybody who's watching us later. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Much appreciated.
Very much. We do appreciate that, because there are people, I get like delayed reaction because I have the instant reaction right now with the chat, but then days later I'll get people messaging me. And I love that. It keeps the love going.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I do wish we could go on at a time that would work for everybody all around the world, but such a time does not exist.
No, and it never will, because of the rotation of the planet around the sun.
Ah, lies. The Earth is flat.
Right.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Good God, I'm kidding.
I know you are.
I've been watching a lot of Simon Dan YouTube channel, and he basically takes like flat earthers videos and like picks them apart and tells them why they're all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. His audience, he's preaching to the choir, and the people who need to listen never will. So, but it's fun. It's fun to watch. So,
well, as far as I know, a lot of the people who have this flat earther belief are not good at science.
I don't know.
Because
is there some sort of correlation there? I don't.
I kind of just think maybe there is. That's a connection. So, just saying. I mean, obviously, they're not good with science.
Well, the one thing that I'm really happy about is there are all kinds of Star Trek fans from all corners of the world and who have all kinds of different beliefs, but there are not many flat earther Star Trek fans because, I mean, probably obvious reasons. So that's one aspect I'm really glad we don't have in the community really at all. I can't imagine there being many. Like, statistically speaking, there's got to be some, but like... yeah, they just keep quiet, which is nice.
Any flat earthers in the chat tonight?
Hey, let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
After we've trashed you. So sorry.
Excellent. Well, speaking of the chat, we've got a lot of the regulars here. I see Chris Littlefield has joined us. Thank you.
Hi! I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, it's awesome to have him here. I had the absolute pleasure of recording open channel with him earlier today, and that'll be coming out Monday, I believe. So that was a lot of fun. We of course talked about the episode that we're going to be talking about tonight, which is Die Trying. Stephen Fothery, good to see you. Awesome. Yep, the Earth is not flat. That is truth. And David, of course, and Wellington Smith, hello. TJ, good to see you. Marg, hi. Sam Lewis, thanks for joining us. I'm doing shout outs. We don't tend to do a lot of those, so I'm trying to, remember. Automated Joy, hello.
Yeah, it's fun to be recognized. It feels nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you all for joining. Like I said, we're talking about the episode Die Trying, and this is the 5th episode of season 3 of Star Trek Discovery, and what an awful episode. Wasn't this just terrible? Oh,
I was so bored. I couldn't wait for it to be over.
Nothing of import really happened. It was just like,
broke my streak, did not cry at all.
Oh, there's nothing in this episode that you could cry about. It's just,
I know, right? Just whatever.
Yeah. I think everyone who knows us knows we're joking. What a great episode. I mean, okay, so
Oh, yeah.
last episode, they've talked to Tal. She's connected with all of her past hosts, and they found the way to get to Starfleet headquarters / Federation headquarters, which are interestingly combined at the moment. And it's not on a planet. It's in this kind of weird, distorted, hidden space. So what did you think of that reveal, first of all, of Starfleet headquarters here?
Well, it actually is kind of what I thought it was going to be. I mean, they were obviously hidden away if nobody knew if they even still existed, for real.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured that they had been under siege, and what they were doing was a protective measure.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't really surprised that they were basically cloaking their existence. But again, they did know that Discovery was coming, so at least there is that. And they didn't get shot out of the sky before they penetrated that distortion field.
Yeah, absolutely. Did anyone else out there get a like Star Trek Enterprise season 3 vibe from the distortion field hiding?
Ooh, a little bit.
I was like, ooh, that's interesting. It felt like they were in the Delphic Expanse again with the kind of cloaking
Agreed.
field or whatever.
Yes, I did. I did feel that a little bit, but there were so many things going on in the cold open that I thought it and I quickly forgot it, and that because just the next thing happened and the next thing happened, and oh my lord, there's the Voyager J, and the tears began.
Yeah,
and
that
then
was pretty
intensified
cool.
with the Nog,
Yeah,
and just wow, had me in the cold open.
that was pretty cool. Yeah, so the Voyager J, of course, the 10th, no wait, 11th generation. That's pretty cool. The one thing this episode did was I call it the focus on the blue milk phenomenon. And so, for example, Rogue One, terrific Star Wars movie, did like Easter eggs and stuff right, I think, except for right at the beginning of the film, they like focus and zoom in on a glass of blue milk and linger. And it's like, okay. And I felt like I loved the Voyager J drifting past the window and it being very clear on camera. I felt, this is just a minor complaint, I felt that the like view screen focusing on it and OO being like, boy, I'd love to hear those stories. I was just like, oh, just a little bit too much, you know, just a titch. But I still loved the reference and loved seeing it there.
Yeah, that was a bit of an awkward line, but at the same time, I look at it as the crew of Discovery are literally our ciphers in this cold open, because they're doing all the things that we were doing.
Yeah, that's true. The one counter I would say is like Voyager, that name and that number means so much to us. And it wouldn't mean as much to the Discovery crew.
It actually wouldn't mean anything to the Discovery crew.
I actually much preferred, I thought it was so cool, OO's line when she says, is that a new Constitution? Because they would know of the USS Constitution and the Constitution class. And I was like, that's perfect. But it was, again, great seeing Voyager, so I can't fault them too much. And then, of course, as you say, the Nog. Apparently Eisenberg class.
Definitely. Not just apparently, definitely Eisenberg class.
According to the behind the scenes people and stuff. Yeah. That is very, very cool. Yeah. What's funny is the first time I watched it, I caught that because it had been spoiled for me. So I was on the lookout for it. And I caught it and I was like, oh, that's neat. That's really cool. And the second time I watched it, when I wasn't like just like sitting down to try and watch it for the first time and just more absorbing it and taking it in, I watched it with my wife, Nikki. And when it got there, I paused it and said, do you see the name of that ship? And she, couldn't quite read it. I said, oh, it's the USS Nog. And she started to get misty eyed because we had both met Aaron Eisenberg in 2018 in Las Vegas. And Aaron Eisenberg's passing away really deeply affected both of us. And I fed on that. Like she got misty-eyed and emotional, and I started getting choked up then too. So it affected me like 10 times more the second time around than it did the first time. So
I'm back.
everyone in the chat got that story. I don't know how much of it Brandy got, but there you go.
None of it.
Okay, cool.
She started getting misty, then I froze, and
Yeah.
I've just started making really bizarre facial expressions to come back in with. So
I thought it was great. That was great. No, I was just saying, like, the first time around it didn't really like register, but because we had both met Aaron Eisenberg in 2018 in Vegas, and his passing was it deeply affected both of us. She started to get misty-eyed, and then I immediately got like choked up and emotional, and we were like, what an amazing tribute. And like that, it was funny that it just, the second time around, that's what it took for me to get there.
yeah, sometimes it happens that way. Sometimes you're distracted by other things, which is why I feel you have to watch an episode at least twice before you can really absorb everything. And for me, I really prefer more like 3 times. I don't always have time for that, but I prefer like a good hat trick of watchings to really fully absorb an episode.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Sam Lewis, thank you so much for the super chat there, by the way. And she says, hi from the UK. Very much looking forward to your thoughts on the new uniforms. P.S. Odor Fair, Admiral Vance. Is this lesbian's guilty hetero crush? Yeah. Silver Fox territory here. This mostly straight guy's kind of in the same boat there. He's pretty cute. But yeah.
Well, see, I've had a love affair going on with Oded Fair since 1999. And so when I saw him in the trailer for the next week, I'm like, because I adore him. I adore him as an actor. And he is also just very easy on the eyes. And that beard. Oh, my Lord, that beard.
No. Yeah, I gotta say, in The Mummy, it was his voice, because you first notice the voice because he does the narration and stuff.
And the eyes. When you first see him, you only see the eyes, and it's just yes,
yeah, definitely chiseled, good Silver Fox looks there.
All of just all of the love to him. I'm so excited he's part of Trek. I can't even stand it.
Because yeah, even on top of all of that, what a great performance by him as well.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, and I said this in the podcast, which hasn't been released yet. You'd hear it on Monday, but he there's a lot of depth behind his face, and what I get from him in this episode is that he wishes he could be more emotional and more invested personally and emotionally in what's going on, but he can't afford to. His mandate is to hold this tenuous Federation together as best he can, or Starfleet, I guess, is his mandate as CNC. Like, for example, when he first meets Adira, and there's that familiarity, and he says, I was on familiar terms with the Admiral. I'm not with you. So we can't. Like, let's keep this professional, kind of thing. And I was like, he wants to embrace his friend, and but he's like, I can't do that. I can't bring emotion into this. I've got to make decisions based completely objectively. And yeah, I really liked that.
I think it may have been more than that.
I think there's something else there too. Yes.
There is. I really feel, because the way that when Adira said he didn't mean to leave you hanging, he just wanted to see snow one last time. And it's a few seconds before he responds, and he says he always was sentimental. And there was a lot of restrained emotion in that. Like, the way he delivered that line was just, and it's just like, there is a story there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and other people are wondering too. I wonder why Admiral Vance was so abrupt with Adira. Is he concerned Senatal might be a rival for command? I don't think that's where it's going. I think there's something more to that relationship. I do find it really interesting that Adira disappears at the beginning of the episode and we don't hear any more of that story. So I feel like that's something that's going to be picked up again. I think they have more planned for that than just what we see, but I don't think that direction. That's not my guess.
No, I didn't get that feeling at all. It was more of a, okay, I can. He obviously understands the whole Trill symbiont relationship.
Hmm.
And so he understands that although Adira has access to Senna's memories, that doesn't mean she is Senna.
Right.
And so he is able to separate the two. And it's almost like he's upset that he no longer has Senna more than anything else.
Hmm.
That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's, and I mean that's something Deep Space Nine has examined a bit too, is dealing with the pain of losing your friend but still kind of sort of having them. So I can see
Mm.
him like cutting himself off from that and saying like, this is going to cloud my judgment. I'm
Yeah.
going to not view you as anything like the old friend of mine. I have to treat you as a completely new person, which, to be fair, according to Trill Mores, is what you're supposed to do. So that's probably a good thing. But
Yeah.
yeah. What else was in that comment? We wanted the new uniforms. Okay, yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit too. Um, First of all, what did you think of the uniforms? And we get kind of like the flag officer one, the gray with the rank epaulets, I guess, on the collar, and then we get the kind of duty jumpsuit. It looks like that we see Lieutenant Willow wearing.
Mm-hmm. I didn't have a problem with like the Lieutenant Willa uniform, and I wonder if that's something specifically to security because she looks like a security officer, acts like a security officer, brought security officers with her onto Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the gray uniforms don't like him. Maybe
Yeah,
I'll warm up to him, but right now, do not like him. Not impressed. They're just
yeah.
kind of bland.
I feel like it's kind of representative of where Starfleet is at the moment. They're not
Mm-hmm.
putting
Yes,
resources into making fancy uniforms. The
that's what I was thinking. Yes.
Yeah, the like ensign in the back room who like meticulously designs them, they're like not giving them any resources. They're just like,
No.
whatever, we need you to fix the thing. Just design a uniform and get to it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Um
Yeah.
I saw some people making predictions about Bajor and its relation to the Federation because the Admiral's uniform kind of looks like a Bajoran uniform. It's got the side panels instead of the top panel. I thought that was
Mm,
interesting. I don't think there's anything there. I think it's a coincidence, but
yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
Well, there's only so many ways you can design a uniform. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that that's necessarily true. Maybe it is, and I could be totally proven wrong, but I just didn't get that feeling
Yeah.
personally.
Okay. I'm gonna say I actually don't mind the Admiral's uniform all that much. It's dull, I guess. It's not flashy, but I don't know. There's something to it that I'm like, I wouldn't mind trying to see, like, I wouldn't mind seeing somebody trying to cosplay that. I think that's kind of a cool look. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's purposeful because and I see someone's actually saying the same thing in the chat. Um, that it's actually kind of purposeful to show the shades of gray in which the Federation and Starfleet are living right now.
Hmm,
So yeah, it was great minds think alike.
absolutely. And fools seldom differ. I'm just kidding.
You always do that now. Can't you just let me have it one time? Just one
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely. Of course. Yeah, summer vacation, the gray uniforms reflect the mood of Starfleet and the Federation at the moment. I think that's absolutely the case. Yeah, this kind of pared down Starfleet, but also kind of dull and utilitarian, I guess maybe might be the right word as well. There's nothing
Yeah.
flashy about them at all.
No, and I think that there's a little bit of context for that at the end of the episode when Admiral Vance says, "We've been in triage for a long time."
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like, yeah, you've been in triage for like, what, 120 years?
Yeah.
So that's, you just don't worry about things like that
Mm-hmm.
when your first and always first thought is just keeping what you have right now together. And that's a hard way to live.
Yeah,
And you're
absolutely.
always tense, you're always on edge, you always feel like it's like being a Terran emperor. You feel like there's always another knife at your back. So, which is why they cloak their existence, and I totally get it.
Definitely. Well, that makes for a really good segue, because let's talk about the former Terran Emperor, Philippa
Ooh.
Georgiou, and her very interesting conversation with the David Cronenberg's character, who's named Kovich. I've seen, I think it was Stephen Fothery, your guys' live stream. I caught a little bit of it. I think you guys were referring to him as Kovich 19. A little bit of dark humor there, but I kind of love it. So like, beautiful. That was great.
Wow.
I can't remember who it was in your stream who said that, but I thought that was pretty funny. It might have been Starfleet Boy. But yeah. So yeah, that scene. What did you think of that whole scene with Georgiou and
Well,
what's going on there?
the first time I'm watching it, I'm sitting there going, I think that's David Cronenberg. Because I haven't seen him on screen a whole lot. In recent days, and so I'm just like, that has to be David Cronenberg. And then with that realization is, that's David Cronenberg in Trek. David Cronenberg is in Trek. And so I was just kind of losing my mind a little bit over that. But I love the way they interacted. And now, after the fact, I also know that Michelle Yeoh was nervous because she is a mega fan of Cronenberg.
I saw that post. I shared it over in the Positively Trek discussion group. Yeah, and I mean, if you can make Michelle Yeoh nervous, that's impressive. And in the context of the show, if you can make Emperor Georgiou nervous, or maybe not nervous, but unsettled, that's something as well.
And his delivery of all of his lines, he never at any time gets riled up. You know, even after she does the blinky thing and basically switches off the holograms, and he's like, "You broke my hose." Just he knows what he is doing, this guy. And he knows how to get under someone's skin. And it's effortless for him.
Yeah.
And he's got Georgiou's number big time. And knows exactly how to get at her, which is unexpected. Because you would think nothing that anyone could say would affect her unless you tell her that her empire did not endure.
Which, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Even before all of that, though, too, my favorite moment of his comes very early on, before he's even really said anything, when the one hologram turns to him and says, "Please make her stop." And he just kind of goes,
"No, you're on your own, kids."
It's like, no, I kind of want to see what happens.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he was doing. He was waiting to see what happened.
Absolutely. It was
very smart,
very subtle and brilliant. I thought that was really good. And yeah, I love that he had this information about the Terran Empire, and he holds it until very late in the conversation. We, of course, know it because we've watched Deep Space Nine and all that. We know when the Terran Empire fell and everything, but Georgiou doesn't. She's from before that. So yeah, that was really interesting. And how much, like we said, it unsettled her was unsettling in and of itself, because we've never seen anything really. Probably the closest we've gotten is when Michael brought her into the Prime Universe. That's the most unsettled we've ever seen Georgiou. And even then, it wasn't like, oh my God, what's going to happen, or what's happening. It was more, I'm angry about this thing that you've done.
Yeah.
So something we've never seen before, I think.
Definitely. And I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes.
Yeah. So let's keep talking about her and jump to the very end of the episode then. And we'll circle back to like the mission and other character things. But at the very end, after all said and done, Georgiou is frozen in place in the corridor, and Michael tries to talk to her like 3 or 4 times, like tries to get her attention. And she is absolutely stock still, not blinking, staring into nothing. And, finally kind of snaps out of it. And Michael again has to repeat, "I asked, are you okay?" And she's, "Why would you ever ask me that?" and then walks off and has like the kind of like disturbed look on her face.
Mm-hmm.
Without
Yeah.
revealing anything from later episodes or anything like that, what the heck is happening there? What is going on?
You know, I can say this. I still don't know.
Okay.
I still don't know what
I'm glad.
what it looks like from the outside, from just this particular episode, not factoring in things that I've seen that no one else, well, not everybody else has, is that it was like a catatonic state, which is often brought on by trauma. So I'm wondering if he, with his words, triggered some kind of trauma that she had buried really,
Hmm.
really deep. And now that is coming back to haunt her, so to speak. And
Interesting.
because she's such a different person now. This is how I feel, that she was such a different person from when this trauma happened, that she cannot reconcile the things. She cannot reconcile this memory, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. This is all guesswork, you guys.
Yeah, I don't know, because most of what I hear is on either end of the spectrum, right? Either like she's disturbed and distracted and staring off into space for a moment, and I'm like, no, it's deeper than that. Like they wouldn't focus on it that much if that's all it was. And the other end is Kovich has done something physically or mentally to her and implanted something, and she's a sleeper agent who's gonna blah blah blah. I don't know if it's that far. I think you've got it somewhere in the middle there. And yeah, I don't think we have enough information to really even put together any kind of real theory, but I'm really curious as to what this is all about.
Yep. So am I. Because even with the knowledge of episode 6, I can't tell you what it is. I still don't know. So all I can tell you is that I don't know. That's that's not a spoiler. So
yeah. But yeah, I like and Marg says Georgiou is traumatized, maybe. I like where you're going with that. Like, yeah, some sort of trauma or repressed something, maybe. That's an interesting line of inquiry. Yeah.
That's what I feel like.
All right. Well, let's talk about kind of the main plot that Discovery and Burnham kind of embark on in this one. So Burnham is kind of eager to have Discovery and the crew prove themselves, because the Admiral wants to, reappropriate Discovery for the Federation and split the crew up and all this kind of stuff. And, obviously we don't want that. The show's Star Trek Discovery. We like our crew. We want them all to be together. And they're a resource in and of themselves that Starfleet can use, not just the ship. So we get this idea that we can help trace the prion infection of the Keeley who are suffering, and prove the worth of the spore drive and this crew working together to Starfleet. And I like the little preamble to that where Burnham says, if we could get our hands on the list and we could make off with it and prove to Starfleet we can go rogue and do this. And Saru's just like,
get our hands on.
Yes, that was get our hands on. And I loved how affronted he was. And his line that stung too is something along the lines of, you of all people, I would have hoped would have learned this lesson by now, that our first act isn't going to be to go against Starfleet. And I was like, ooh, dang. I hope that hurt as much as it felt like it was meant to. Not hurt, but like a splash of cold water in the face that like.
Well, and it was needed because she was out of line.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's honestly what all of us wish we could do, but we're not Starfleet officers. So he says we will request it through proper channels, and they still don't get anywhere. But then Michael appeals to Willa and actually makes a logical argument
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gets them that list.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steps, thank you, makes a comment. And absolutely, Burnham has changed again. She's been basically an outlaw for a year. So yeah, she's not lived under the auspices of Starfleet. She's been a free agent, I guess you could say. And yeah, an outlaw is probably a good way to put it. She's been working outside of the strictures of the law and Starfleet and that sort of thing. So, you know, it's interesting to see her come back into this and realize, oh wait, I can't just do that. I'm a commander in Starfleet. This guy's a fleet admiral. Like,
yeah, and she's also a first officer. She sets an example.
Absolutely. Yeah. So they do manage to get this list, and at first the admiral is like, well, we only need Stamets, so let's put together a team, get Stamets, and take the ship. And Burnham's like, no, like, use us. We're already trained on the ship. You're gonna take a new team and train them to use 1,000-year-old starship, like, which again, great argument, and it works. And he realizes, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then we get to see Burnham in command of the bridge, which we got, if I'm thinking back, we got exactly about 30 seconds of Burnham in command of a bridge before. And that was in the Vulcan Hello, the very first episode, as first officer of the Shenzhou. But we've never seen her, like, you know, issuing commands and getting reports and all this kind of stuff. And man, does she ever just like take to that role perfectly.
She gave me goosebumps. I won't lie. I got emotional. Like when she says, let's show them who we are. And I'm just like, yes, let's please. Let's do it. I'm with you all the way. I'll go anywhere you say.
Yeah, and I love that. Like, yeah, her journey on Discovery is interesting because she started on that ship as a specialist, you know, basically someone who's on loan from prison to help them on this mission, to commanding that bridge. And, you know, most of the people around her on the bridge are the same people that saw her in that position in season 1. So it's kind of cool to see her make that journey. And I loved her in command. I thought she was terrific.
She was terrific. And she has everyone's respect. And, you know, they would do anything for her, obviously. So, yeah, that was a really powerful scene. Really powerful to see her in command.
Yeah, absolutely. I will also say, and this just kind of occurred to me now, the actions she wanted to take initially with the Admiral and with all of that stuff, boy, does that ever prove how in her right mind she was in the episode when she said, no, Saru, you're the one who should be in command. It's not me, it's you. Like, that was great insight on Burnham's part, that she's not right for that role as the captain of Discovery. She does a great job commanding it in this moment and all that sort of stuff. But as far as those decisions that were made, I think that really illustrates where she's at, and that she recognized in herself, like, I can't be the captain yet. I thought that was really interesting.
I don't know that she's ever going to want to be a captain at this point. I don't know if she wants that responsibility over everyone's lives again. And when I say again, by that I mean the whole endurance of the universe was on her shoulders. I don't know that she wants to carry anything like that on her shoulders again. Yeah. I don't think she wants to be the top of the chain. I think she prefers now to be in an area where she can do more, say more, go about things a different way than a captain is expected to. I think it suits her better. Yeah. And I think she thinks it suits her better.
That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, maybe she really takes to heart Culber's words in the last episode when he calls her a responsibility hoarder. And maybe she will continue to work on that and be like, you know what? I don't want it. I can't. Or not I can't, but I don't want to have that responsibility. Interesting. Yeah. So they go on this mission basically to find a seed vault ship because they need the original unmutated version of this plant that has been mutated that caused the prion infection. And the seed vault ship, interestingly enough, it passes under the control of different groups for various times. And right now there's a Barzan family that's apparently in control of it. And we didn't talk about Kaminar having joined the Federation, which we probably should have mentioned. That was a really moving scene.
Yep.
But we also learned that the Barzans joined as well. And Non is like, oh, that's kind of cool. I haven't seen a Barzan since I joined Starfleet. And just like, I like the juxtaposition of those two reactions. Like, Saru is just amazed because he knows how far his people had come. And then Non, oh, that's neat. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I do wonder how Barzan has changed since being accepted into the Federation, because later in the episode, Non does say that, they were basically famous for two things, which was, I can't remember,
Diligence, I think?
diligence and poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And what little they had, they invested in their children.
Yeah.
So I hope that joining the Federation helped improve their quality of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be curious because I haven't gone back and watched it in a while, but they were only ever in the TNG episode The Price, and they were accepting bids for control of the wormhole that had appeared in their system. So I don't think we saw much of their culture beyond that. So
no,
I like
this is, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I like that we're getting that exploration here a little bit and seeing more of that.
Because we just don't know that much about Barzan or Barzans.
Mm-hmm. So,
except that they require breathing apparatuses to breathe in our atmosphere. So, yeah, it was nice to get a little window into that, especially with seeing like the videos of the family that had been taking care of the seed ship.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
it's not enough for me. I do want to know more.
Yeah.
Because I really like Non and I want to know more about where she comes from, but it's more than we've ever had before. So I really can't complain.
I mean, yeah, basically going from an alien of the week to that's pretty cool. I like when, don't get me wrong, I love when new aliens are introduced. I love the exploration of Saru and Kelpians and all of that. But I also love taking an existing alien who is just kind of a forehead of the week and extrapolating out and building a culture and doing some interesting things with it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, next on the list, Saurians. I want to know more about Saurians.
Absolutely. Just as a little aside, the scene with Georgiou and Kovich when he says there's someone on that ship that you care a great deal about. My wife Nikki went, oh, Linus.
Of course she did.
I thought that was great.
that was excellent. Absolutely excellent. Love
it. That killed me. Yeah. So anyway, so Non, yeah. Okay. So because this is a family of Barzans, she agrees to accompany the away team to the ship. I guess we can call them away teams now and not boarding parties because we're back in the future. I don't know. Oh, they got to sort out their terminology and get the approved list of Starfleet terms, I guess. But anyway, so they go aboard the ship, and in an interesting reversal, she doesn't have to wear the breathing apparatus, but Culber and Burnham do have to wear this little thing that puffs air up into their face because, the atmosphere. And interestingly, her eyes change to, I'm assuming, actress Rachel Ancherel's eyes.
Those are her real eyes. I have seen pictures of her in her normal state. She's lovely. And so, yeah, those were her normal brown eyes.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Lovely in any color.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing what a huge change just that makes to her whole, like, she looks like a completely different person with just that one little change. That's really cool.
Yes, it's very interesting. That's why spies, contact lenses and a wig, and you don't know who they are, even if you've lived with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, just saying.
So yeah, tragically aboard this ship, we find out that a coronal mass ejection from a star has killed the wife and two daughters.
Mm.
But the doctor, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Addis.
Dr. Addis was beaming into the seed vault at the time and was basically saved by that, but was still affected. It is kind of out of phase. And I kept meaning to bring this up whenever we talk about this, like whether it's on the podcast or wherever, but I forgot to. Did he get boimed up? I think he got boimed up.
He got boimed up. he truly got boimed up.
He really did, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't there needs to be like that high pitched whine whenever he appears, and I would have probably cried laughing, which is probably not what they're going for with the emotional tone of this show, but
no.
Yeah.
That I actually hadn't thought of that until just now. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh, one thing too that when they first come on the ship and they realize all the vegetation is, it shouldn't be there, and so they're going down a hall and you see like something kind of sparkly, like not really there, following after them. That was just like, for me, such a TNG moment. In fact, there are a lot of TNG moments in this particular storyline, but I was just like, that is so TNG.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely. That's true. That kind of like, oh, they didn't see that. Oh, what's going on behind them kind of thing. That's very true. I also did think of Emery Erickson's son in Enterprise, the episode Daedalus, when he's...
Yes.
I kind of hints of that as well a little bit. I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. You are correct.
Yeah. I see some people in the comments asking about the Klingons. I'm curious about the Klingons too. I wonder where they're at and what's going on with them. But
let's hope they're still around.
Yeah. I wonder if they ever joined the Federation.
Maybe they did, and maybe they're one of the worlds that they haven't been in touch with because the subspace relays are all down. So I feel like the next big mission should be Discovery flying around through the spore drive and fixing subspace relays, maybe.
Seems like a good idea to me.
But then again, they're the only ship that can do what they do, and they might have bigger priorities, more immediate life-saving priorities. So
more triage, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll see that. Maybe we won't. I don't know. But I feel like that would be a good use of Discovery's time.
Absolutely. So yeah, we have this Dr. Addis, and he refuses to leave. He does eventually give the code to help them get the correct seed, but he refuses to leave the ship. He wants to stay behind with his wife and daughters, even though they are, according to Dr. Culber, quite dead. But the cultural mores, he won't allow him to leave them, or basically, yeah, that's his decision. And then Non decides to stay behind on the ship with him. I've got to ask, was this something that you thought was a possibility or might happen like significantly before it happened in the episode, or was that a surprise to you?
Total surprise. Total surprise. I did not expect this at all. I'm going to take a moment to talk about that scene where they're trying to convince him to use his voice code to open the vault so that they can get these seeds. And Non is not getting through to him because she won't tell him the truth. She won't be honest with him and be the brutal thing. And Culber, who is extremely aware, says, you have to be the one to talk to him, to Michael. And when she does do that, there was ugly crying, you guys, ugly crying. And Jake Epstein, who was playing Dr. Addis, I feel like he had a really marvelous wordless performance during that scene.
Yeah.
I was very impressed by him. a lot of face acting, like almost Sonequa level face acting going on there. And so I just really appreciated that he got to have those moments. And the discussion afterwards where Culber is he's willing to take Addis against his will back to Discovery, and he is calling him irrational, and Non says just because he made a decision you don't understand doesn't mean it's irrational. And I'm like, ooh, that needs, that actually caught me, and I just thought, I need to re-examine some things in my life, maybe, because sometimes something that I see as irrational may not necessarily be that way. So I will be paying attention to that more in the future. And the interesting thing is that Michael, cuts that discussion short, tells Culber to go back to Discovery and work on the antidote. And then she and Non have the real conversation, the real meat of what's going on, which is, Michael is weighing the wishes of Dr. Addis against losing the history of the Federation in that seed ship. And Non is like, so we take him against his will? And Michael says there are no good choices. And I'm just like, that is so hard. But she's the one who had to have that conversation, because Culber was not going to have that conversation. Culber was very single-mindedly ready to save a life. That was his only goal. And he didn't have, he doesn't, it's not above his pay grade, so to speak, but these are the kind of decisions that somebody like Michael has to make.
Yeah. Culber's from his very not narrow in the pejorative
no, not
sense,
narrow,
but he has his priorities in his position as a doctor, as a physician, that is informing the advice or the recommendations that he's giving Michael. But Michael is the one that has to take all the rest of it into account now. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just really appreciated that conversation. Also made me cry between the two of them. The strong ladies. Can't get enough of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was when he says the passcode, and Non says, "Oh, the two most beautiful moons in our system," and he turns to her and says, "My daughters." I'm just like, oh, damn.
I was already crying, so it was just continuing.
Yeah, that's where Nikki got pretty misty-eyed at that too, and I was like, oh, that's a gut punch. That's brutal. Yeah. I just want to say hello to Trek on the Tube, who's first time joining us. Another fellow Star Trek YouTuber, great YouTube channel if you've not checked it out. Watching for the first time live, usually can't make it. Love you both, and you're the best, Dan. Kurtrats for the win. Thank you.
Aww, Dan is the best. I second that.
Shaw.
So Dan is the best.
Well, thank you. I personally think you are the best. So, yeah. Anyway.
It's all you. It's all you. It's all you.
Okay. Mutual Admiration Society aside. From a purely just like gorgeous point of view, that shot of the Discovery through the viewport as like, that was beautiful. Like,
it was.
I like the ship, and I think it's a good design and all that sort of stuff, but like something about that shot, I was just like, that is a gorgeous shot. I don't know why, but that was beautiful.
No, I agree, because we don't usually get to see it from that distance or from someone else's perspective. And the smile and serenity on her face as she watched them go was also very moving. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I will never get tired of seeing a spore drive jump. Never.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was really cool. So yeah, Non stays behind on the ship. She decides to stay behind. I also, like you, did not see that coming. I thought that was a total surprise. I've talked to a few people now that have been saying, though, as soon as like she was looking at the recordings, and because of the previously on Discovery and why she stayed on Discovery, they were like, oh, she's going to stay on that ship. And I was like, wow, you are so much more insightful than I am, because I did not see that coming at all. It's one of those things that in retrospect, I'm like, of course, that makes perfect sense. That's what this has been leading to, but I didn't see it coming. I gotta say.
Yeah, and it's something I usually would see coming too, but for whatever reason, I didn't, and I will fully admit to that. So,
yeah.
but once she made the decision, I wasn't surprised. But before that, I was like, "Wait, what? What? We get a whole episode with you, and now we're losing you? And I don't know.
Oh no! I just realized it followed the same pattern of Arium. Not that she died, but we got like the episode. Like this will be the non-episode. Like that's what people will call it. And she left at the end. What? Come on, guys.
Well, they've got a spore drive. They can see her again.
And that's actually my next question. Like, do you think we will see her again? Is she going to continue to play a role at some point? Okay.
I really do think we'll see her again.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting timing, because she started this season as a main cast member in the opening credits, which, was a new thing for her character. So, yeah, I've just got to remember, that Discovery is different from past Star Treks, right? Because for the most part, older Star Treks, the cast is pretty stable, with a few exceptions along the way that are special cases. But for the most part, the cast remains the same. And I've just got to remember that like anything can happen on Discovery. Like they can get rid of somebody, whether they just leave the ship or die or what have you. So it's, different. I got to remember that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like really I really feel that we shall see her again. And I'm not completely given up on seeing May again either.
Oh, interesting.
I haven't forgotten about that, because Tilly did say, I really think we will find our way back to each other. And I think they're going to pick up that thread sometime.
See, they've done that a few times. And the one that I really noted was in last season's New Eden. Jacob said very much the same thing to Pike. Like, I hope I get to see you again. It's like, oh yeah, we'll see each other again, or something like that. And I was like, I've been waiting for that. When does he show up again? I don't think he's gonna at this point, but I'm like,
Strange New Worlds.
Oh, interesting thought. Okay. Huh. I hadn't
Still
thought of
possibilities.
That's true. As Spock says, there always are possibilities. So yeah, they succeed in their mission. They bring the plant back, and Culber cures the Keeley, which I thought was an interesting choice. I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm in charge of some patients and a time traveler from the 11th century figures out how to cure him, I'm not letting that person administer the drug with their 1,000-year-old equipment. Just saying. But
how do you know he was using 1,000-year-old equipment?
They showed the hypo spray that he was using on his neck, and it was exactly the same as the ones they have on Discovery.
Well, maybe if it's not broke, don't fix it.
I mean, yeah, there's a case for that. But I was just like, in my head, I was kind of like, what would the I mean, I know it's not equivalent because they're at more level technologies, but it's like, that would be the 11th century. Yeah, no. But it was just more of a funny thought.
That's the thing, though. The 11th century to us and the 23rd century to the people in the 32nd century, I don't know that those are equivalent exchange.
No, and like I said, they aren't, but that was just the same number of years. I was like, it's an interesting thought experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I was like, that's an interesting choice. I don't know that I would have just put the patients in his care in that moment, but that's just me.
Well, he did develop the antidote, vaccine, whatever you want to call it. Antidote would be correct, yes, because that's what Michael called it as well. So And frankly, I would absolutely put all of my faith in Dr. Culber. But then, we've been with him for this is the third season, and so
Yeah.
I'm a little bit biased in that regard. Plus, it seemed like a lot of the doctors were holographic. So,
That's true.
uh, not that that makes a difference one way or the other, but I think that, you have the person who made the antidote. Yeah, we're going to let him do the treating.
Hmm.
So, because he's the one that made it
Yeah,
and
I
knows
guess
what to do with it.
for whatever this is worth, whatever that certification is worth, I guess maybe he was the only one in that room that had a medical degree. Like,
Quite
okay,
possibly.
so you take charge of the sick bay at this moment, then. So yeah,
See, I told you I can headcanon anything.
I'll let
Almost.
it. Yeah.
Almost anything.
One other thought that I had: do you think Lieutenant Willa is going to be on Discovery on a more permanent basis, or
Yes.
okay? That's that's my inclination as well. I feel
New
like
chief of security.
that's my guess as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I guess that's all there is to say about that.
No, I ended up really liking Willa.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
and it's not that I disliked her at first because I understood the viewpoints of everyone at Starfleet /Federation headquarters. I
Hmm.
truly, truly did.
Yeah.
And I understand the feelings of the Discovery crew as well. I can see both sides of it, and I can see how Vance has this immense burden on his shoulders, and he cannot afford to screw this up.
Absolutely.
So I totally get that, and Willa seems to have worked really closely with him, knows him well. So I just, she was a little bit hard at first, but we saw in that scene when Michael is basically begging to be able to see that list of planets that the Keeley had been to, that you see that she does feel. She's not doing stuff just to be a tight ass. She really cares about everything. But she's
Hmm.
a lot like Vance in that the protection of their people comes first. So I think she would make an excellent chief of security for Discovery, especially after, that first jump and she started to realize, oh, okay, I am out of my depth here. Even though I thought they were going to be out of their depth, I'm out of mine. I can accept that. And she just, she learns. She doesn't just strut around being egotistical the whole time. She actually watches the crew. She interacts. She learns from
Hmm.
this mission.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's room for a lot of interesting storylines with her, and
Yes.
her as like the future Starfleet liaison with the Discovery. I could see that being a role for her for
Mm-hmm.
sure. So the one major aspect of this episode we haven't talked about yet is the melody. Of course, that
Yes.
Burnham heard Adira playing, and then hears on the Barzan ship, and asks Willow about, and she says, most people here recognize that melody, and we don't know why. What is that about? What I gotta say, um, I'm not incredibly invested in the burn question. Like, it's like, I think that's an interesting mystery, and I think we'll get there. I think they're parceling it out a little bit too, like, slowly or whatever. This is an interesting introduction. I'm curious what this might be all about.
My husband Dave has a theory. It's a very, very loosely formed theory because there aren't enough facts yet to really chart a course, I guess. He said he wondered if it had something to do with the burn,
Hmm.
that it was some kind of harmonics frequency that caused it. Maybe not necessarily purposely. There's still so much that's unknown, but this is definitely not just a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have people all over the galaxy suddenly knowing the same melody, even
Yeah.
if it just got into the ether. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Personally, I think they're all Cylons. So,
I knew you were going to say that.
the joke's right there. It's right there.
It is right there. It
Um,
is.
oh, I see. Oh, the comment just there. It is. I'm not the only one that thought along those lines too. So all along the Watchtower, the four, or spoilers for Battlestar Galactica, I guess it's pretty old, but the four, members of the Galactica crew, the people there who find out they're Cylons, they're all hearing all along the Watchtower. So that's the explanation for that. Anyway. So anything we haven't talked about / final thoughts / ratings for this episode?
I really loved the scene when Michael and Saru are telling Vance their story, and there's the hologram that's constantly getting in their faces, and Michael's expressions while it's happening just really uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was great. Also, the hologram's little bow ties, like.
Another thing. There is an actual seed vault on this planet.
Absolutely.
It is it's in really northern Norway, close to the Arctic Circle.
I got it right.
Deep in the mountain. And, yep.
Got ratings popping up on the screen here too. I'll cycle through.
Yeah, it's just it's really nice to see those things that we already know about, reflected in the future. It's something familiar.
Yeah, I mentioned on Open Channel about that seed vault, and I said Norway to start with. I was like, I probably got that wrong. I think it's Norway.
It's Norway.
So yeah, I got that right. I think I also then said maybe Sweden, but so just ignore the second part of that. Chris Littlefield, if you haven't edited that episode yet, just edit that second sentence out.
It's definitely wow, definitely Norway.
Cool. All right. Did you have a rating that you wanted to give or other final thoughts?
I feel the way about this episode as the crew of Discovery feels about going into the distortion field and seeing all those ships that they've never seen before and detached to cells, and oh my god, what is happening? Yeah, that's how I feel about this episode. I just really enjoyed it, and I am now 5 for 5 crying at episodes this season.
Nice. I just want to highlight David Henderson's rating, which I love. 2 truths existing in one space. That was a line that stuck out to me. I thought
that never ends well.
Absolutely. Some great ratings coming here. Yep. So, I really, really enjoyed this episode. I thought the tributes at the beginning were beautiful. The spoken and unspoken ones, I should say. And some interesting choices in the episode that I wasn't expecting, which is always welcome. And I think choices that make sense too. Like they weren't twists for the sake of twists. They're choices that like, oh, that makes sense in retrospect. I really enjoy that. So I think I would have to give I'm going to use the same rating I did elsewhere, and I'm going to say one very satisfying tour of duty aboard the Eisenberg class USS Nog is my rating for this episode. So we've got some other ratings that I'm going to share here. Mossy says 9 out of 10 smart looking glasses in a glasses free world. See, I liked the little affectation of the glasses. Do we think it was just an affectation, or was there some kind of tech in those glasses or something?
I feel like it was an affectation, but maybe he's got like Google Glass up in there. No, wait, that didn't work.
I was thinking something like that, maybe, but
possibly.
I thought it was interesting. We see another little bit of tech here. His badge is what's emanating the hologram that he's manipulating, the control panel. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes.
So agreed. I think I remember when I was a kid, I was thinking like, oh, maybe future communicators will have a little thing that'll beam like a little floating view screen of the person you're talking to, and maybe we'll see that. That would be pretty cool. But
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe she just had something in her contact lenses.
Yeah, that
I'm
would
kidding.
be if you just have something stuck in your eye and you're trying to deal with holograms and you keep turning them off all the time, that would be really frustrating.
Yes, yes, it would. And the thing is that I think people were kind of just like, how would she know how to do that? There was hologram technology in the Terran Empire. There was hologram technology aboard Discovery. We see it in seasons 1 and 2 and 3. So yeah, she knows about holographic technology.
Yeah, I had a little issue with that just because they're from the Prime universe anyway. They're 900 years more advanced holograms. You'd think the same thing wouldn't work. That said, the technology and things in the Mirror universe were more advanced. They had conquered most of the galaxy by that point, apparently. I think it's a bit of a stretch. I think it's a little convenient. That was probably my biggest problem with the episode was that scene, but yeah, you can stretch it and just wave it off. But it did bug me a little bit. I will admit.
Yeah, it didn't bother me because I thought she's seen stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff in her life. And there are going to be, regardless of how advanced your technology is, there are going to be certain things that will remain the same when it comes to projected light. So, just saying,
No. All right.
That's my headcanon.
Okay. Far be it from me to argue headcanon.
No, it's okay. Not everybody has to accept my headcanon. My headcanon is for me. That's why it's my headcanon.
Awesome. All right. Well, I guess that's pretty much all that I have to say about the episode. So with that, I guess where can people follow you to find out all the crazy cool Star Trek stuff that you do online?
Well, I'll tell you one really quick thing that I forgot to mention is I love
please,
this
yeah.
Saru telling the story about the painter Giano.
Yes. Okay.
So, and
Yeah.
looking up and 3-point perspective, and that was another one of those things that just got me teary-eyed.
Mm-hmm.
So really loved that. And of course Saru would know that story because Saru knows everything. He has studied everything. And of course he would have studied humans extensively because Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
One thing I've never heard anybody ever call Saru, though, is a Mary Sue. And I wonder why that is. Interesting. Regarding that scene, I do want to say, like, just the resonance that scene had for things going on right now, coming out of a dark age, maybe. I don't know.
Yep.
There's just some stuff there that I was like, ooh, this really every week this season, the last couple of weeks for sure. Boy, has the episode really hit home as far as, I don't know, things happening in the world. So
yeah, it's so interesting because if this season had come out when it was supposed
I'm sorry. Oh. Oh shoot. Okay. Thanks, TJ. I will say Automated Joy, I think, was the first one to comment that. So I want to give credit where it's due. So that's funny.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, and then
oh, it gets worse when you go further down.
Yep. I see it. I see it.
Yeah, we're not going to put those up. Anyway, yeah, I totally forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, if Discovery had come out at the time that it was supposed to, I don't know that it would be resonating as specifically. I mean, it would still be resonating, but it's kind of like everything happened so that it could come out the time where it was most needed. Like we needed this laughter catharsis of Lower Decks to prepare us for this much needed catharsis of the soul with Discovery. So just the universe handing us a break, I guess. Just Hey
Yeah.
guys, here's something to help you out.
I'd say like last week for me, it was one particular line when Saru is talking to everybody assembled around the table. And he said, when I saw each of you vote, like a little prayer. And it's just like, this
Mhm.
week, this was not supposed to come out this week. And
No,
it did. And
and it did.
love it.
Exactly. Mind blown. Mind blown. So
Yeah.
anyway, you can find me on Twitter at Brandy112. Brandy with an I. 12 is the number. I do other shows. It's a long list. I do another live show at noon on Saturdays, noon Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Mountain. Apparently, I need to eat. And that's Infinite Trek, which you can watch on Twitch live on the Outpost 13 channel. I do that with my friend Aaron Harvey. We have great conversations there too, and is released as a podcast on usually Tuesdays on Trek Geeks. And I do some other podcasts. I do 3 Discovery podcasts because, I just need to talk about all Trek. So I do What the Future Holds, which is Star Trek Discovery podcast with my friends, my friend and husband, Dave, and our friend, Christopher D. Littlefield. I do The Vedic Assembly about Deep Space Nine with my friends, Liam and Nick. And I do Boldly Go, which is a Star Trek Strange New Worlds podcast with my friend, Suzanne. And you can find all of those at hallsweetmedia.com. I do a podcast with my husband, which we actually recorded an episode today, the Dark Corner podcast, which you can find at darkcornerpodcast.com. You can also find their Headcanon, which is my solo podcast, which is just a weird, crazy trip through my brain.
Awesome. The main thing that you can catch of mine is Positively Trek. That's the podcast I do with Bruce Gibson. We have 2 episodes come out every week, sometimes 3. Last Friday was supposed to be our episode on the autobiography of Catherine Janeway. Unfortunately, Una McCormick was not feeling well last week, so we've had to reschedule the recording. That will be coming out this Friday. And then the following Friday, so we'll have 2 weeks in a row of book podcasts. We'll have Greg Cox on for his new book, a contest of principles. I keep mixing it up with a book that came out a few years ago called A Choice of Catastrophes, and those names get interspit in a contest of principles, TOS novel.
It's you know what? I have the same problem with the first 2 Discovery novels, Desperate Hours and Drastic Measures. So yeah. I get that.
Drastic Hours and Deadly Measures. Wait, no, that's not.
Desperate Measures, Drastic. No, wait. Did I do that right? Drastic Measures, Desperate Hours. Yep.
There you go.
I'll just stop. Do I sleep, Margas? I am not a good sleeper. Never have been. But I do sleep when I can. Sometimes even almost a full night.
Nice.
But I just really love Star Trek.
Absolutely. Mondays is our Discovery review episode, and Tuesdays is our flagship show episode of Positively Trek, and those will be coming out in the next few days. And that's pretty much the main thing that I do. And catch videos on this channel of all kinds of things, mostly Star Trek. I have been doing Mandalorian videos. Nobody seems to watch those, but I'll still do them because I like
totally
talking about
watch them. I'll totally watch them. I need to pay more attention. I'm so sorry because I've been watching The Mandalorian. I gotta watch your videos.
Ah, man, yesterday's episode. Whew.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. It didn't have the same impact on me because I have not seen all the Clone Wars series.
So I saw all of the Clone Wars.
But I knew enough to know that I was seeing characters from that series. And of course, even without having seen most of the series, I knew who Ahsoka Tano is. Mm-hmm. I know. I can picture her in my mind even. So yeah, it was and it was lovely to see Katie Sackhoff.
Oh, I adore her. She's amazing.
I do too. So, she is. I was very impressed with her. Yes. Yes, thank you, Patrick. We feel the same way.
Absolutely. And Mossy, thank you. So Dan and Brandy, thank you so much for these together so we get to chill and love this great franchise. Amen. Absolutely.
Yes.
And
It's
thank
cathartic
you.
for us too.
Absolutely. Honestly, this wouldn't happen if it weren't for all of you watching and
Yes.
commenting and doing all the things that you do. So thank you all so much.
Mhm.
And you can find me on Twitter at Kertrats, Kertrats, and I'm done. So thank you all so much for joining us. Catch us next week for Scavengers, episode 6 of season 3 of Discovery, and have a great week.